have to really escalate the noise we make so that we'll be heard.
Welcome to Gay USA. I'm Andy Humm.
I'm Ann Northrup.
And you're certainly going to want to stick around today because we are joined by comedian and social commentator and bon vivant, Kate Clinton, to give her unique perspective on the news.
And tell us about her visit to the AARP convention, where we all should be hanging out. But in actual news, the United States Supreme Court this week put off making any announcement about whether it is going to take the various same-sex marriage cases, the DOMA cases, the Prop 8 case. So we are still waiting to see what's going to happen there.
Paul Ryan, the guy running for vice president on the Republican ticket, he will not protect our troops and national security from openly gay and lesbian soldiers.
What is this world coming to? The Catholic Archbishop of Newark tells supporters of same-sex marriage that they should not go to communion. Soon those churches will be really empty.
There are so many of them, and they can't afford the bread. A suspect is arrested.
Or the wine.
A suspect, they don't give you wine in Catholic churches, mostly. A suspect is arrested in the slashing of a transgender person in a Greenwich Village McDonald's. And
Chick-fil-A is going back and forth, mostly forth, on whether it will continue to contribute to anti-gay causes.
The former owner of the Pittsburgh Pirates has come out on the verge of his 50th birthday.
Betty Lane, the photographer who chronicled the fights for civil rights, women's rights, gay and lesbian rights, and AIDS activism, has died at the age of 82.
And someone I had not heard of before, but Teresca Torres, who was the author of a best-selling lesbian pulp fiction novel from 1950, Women's Barracks, has died at 92.
And our old pal Keith Griffith, creator of the website Cruising for Sex, has died at the age of 53.
Some good news from San Francisco, where new HIV infections are continuing to decrease.
And Andy will review a play about genocide in Armenia.
How cheerful.
You have all the fun. But we're going to start by having fun with Kate Clinton, our longtime heroine, comedian, author, political activist, you name it. School teacher.
Ex-school teacher, yes.
Yes.
High school English.
Yeah, but really fantastic human being.
Thank you.
Wow, we're very happy every time you come here.
I'm happy to be here at Gay USA.
And you're going to be making a personal appearance soon at Caroline's on October 17th.
I am.
Unique opportunity for people to see you in Manhattan.
I know. I am on the road all the time, but it'll be a fun show. I'm bringing my All Fracked Up tour to Caroline's, and I worked on it all summer long, and it's of course, so much has happened. I have to change everything. But I think it's like the day after one of the debates.
I know. I'm so sorry we have you here before the debates. You may have to come back in a couple of weeks.
And how do you compete with the actual news?
I feel like I just say what happens and then go like this. So I become an italic.
Well, how about that Mitt Romney?
Oh, Mitt. Of course, I'm from Massachusetts, and we used to call him Mitt, full of shit. But well, you know, I think he's queer.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think he's just...
In the gay sense or in the weird sense?
Please, we don't want
weird. Weird, queer. I mean, there he is. He's putting his heart into winning the primaries and spending tons of money and telling us he's just like him, you know, that he's just like us. And right in front of him, they're trying to get anybody else to run. That is, you know, what about that guy from New Jersey, you know?
Is it too late to change?
What about the Godfather pizza guy? What about
anybody?
And he was leading in the polls
It's like a gay kid trying to get on a team, you know, and everybody's like, no, not him, not him, not him.
Oh.
That's so queer. And then I really think that his Mormonism and his inability or unwillingness to talk about it really is sort of like his don't ask, don't tell. And that's very queer. I mean, that is his core issue. It would be like a closeted gay person not talking about being gay. I mean, it's so queer. And I think the Mormonism, we were talking about it before, but I think it remains to be seen if the racism of Christian fundamentalists will help them get over their hatred of Mormonism, and that they'd be able to vote for Mitt Romney.
It's a tough choice for them.
Right.
Yeah.
I was in Salt Lake City taking the tour once of the plaza where I was there for a conference, and but it was the day the Southern Baptist Convention was in town, so that's who else was on the tour. Wow. And then this guide is going about, that's the Angel Maroney, and the angel did this, and they found the tablets and everything, and the fundamentalists turned to me and go, "Oh, brother."
They've got their nerve.
Exactly.
Yeah. But it's sort of like the cultural carpet bombing of Big Love and the Book of Mormon. It seemed like it was trying to get us ready for the Mormon moment, but I don't think it's happened.
Well, I agree with you that he hasn't been willing to talk about it. And, when we went out and talked about gay stuff in the schools, we found there was a great hunger for the conversation. And I wonder whether he's really missing a bet by not talking about it more.
And I think that kind of transparency is important and very difficult, apparently, for him. I think the other queerest, as a comedian, the thing that I study is, I think the queerest thing about him is his laugh. It's not really a laugh, it's like a bark. It's kind of like
it's really awkward and inauthentic.
Yeah, I mean, it's like he's in a room and he's like saying, "Oh, that looks like a laugh. Let me try that." And it's like, no, you're not there yet. I mean, it's sort of like a constipated dog.
Well, he seems to me very angry. This has been my theory all along, that that all this awkwardness and that I think you see in the 47-minute tape, or the 47% tape. I'm getting confused, is anger. He resents people who think they're entitled to not pay taxes just because they're only making $20,000 a year.
Why don't they move their money offshore like me?
Well, it's sort of like he resents that they didn't just hire him to do the job. Don't they know who I am?
Exactly.
I should just have it because I was born into this family in Mexico that had been exiled there because of the whole polygamy thing. Oh, whatever, And the polygamy and the gay marriage thing.
Well,
don't
that
get me
certainly
started.
seems to be,
I know,
that seems to be the wife's attitude.
Yeah.
Ann Romney is very angry about...
Quit picking on him. Stop it. I love that. That was years ago when Lily Tomlin was running for president. That was her campaign slogan. Stop it. That's Ann Romney.
Maybe that's where she got it.
Yeah. And what do you think of those boys in the back?
Wow.
It's sort of like 7 brothers or 7 brides or something in there. I don't know. I loved it when Romney introduced Paul Ryan as the next president of the United States. I thought, well, at least he's being honest. I mean, I thought that George Bush, Cheney was the president, but he never copped to it. And is Cheney still around?
Yeah, he's still alive.
Still? Okay.
Yep. No, they haven't.
They haven't still not been able to find his heart, though.
Oh well.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think he's got several.
I think he looks shovel ready.
But
I
Paul
heard him
Ryan
in the control booth. They laughed. It's good. Thanks. If you get the band to laugh, you're in good.
But Paul Ryan is Eddie Munster, isn't he?
He is. It's like Saturday Night Live people scrambling to get a guy that looks like Paul Ryan, and they could have just gone to Eddie Munster. And
now,
done it.
I'm mad at Saturday Night Live because they haven't been doing enough on this. They've been doing other stuff.
Well, they've been doing that weird Saturday Night Live on Thursday.
Oh, I haven't
so
seen
I think
that,
they've unloaded most of their political material onto the
primetime thing.
Primetime Thursday,
MSNBC or something.
And it's very, very funny. You have to see the thing they did on the undecided voter, which is now the season for people, and you're like, what is the matter with you? And they did this great thing where they had, it's a lovely kind of collage of, I'm an undecided voter. And we want some answers. Like, who is the president now? How long are they in office? 1 year? 2 years? Forever? Oh my God, it's hilarious.
Well, some
it's
of them
exactly
actually
what I think about. But they send out poor Gwen Ifill. She always has to interview the undecided voters. We'll check in again with them next week. And she's like, ugh, I can't believe I have to talk to these people.
They just want attention.
Exactly. I think they didn't get a spot on Big Brother or something, and they're pissed about it. Yeah.
Well, it is the narrowest group of undecideds in the history of the United States, because how could you not decide between those two guys?
Well, I don't think anyone has described an undecided voter better than David Sedaris, who said an undecided voter is like the person on the plane next to you. And when the flight attendant comes and says, your meal choices are chicken or human excrement with cut glass in it. And the person who is the undecided voter says, is the chicken boneless? I go crazy about the undecided voters. But it is the season for them.
Now, listen, your cousin Bill has made a comeback this season.
Yes, he
Bill
has.
Clinton, former president of the United States.
Former president, and also a great foundation, the Clinton Global Initiative. I have my own. It's more about the Upper West Side of New York. It's the Clinton Upper West Side Initiative, which is, by the way, New York is at a standstill, have you noticed, because of UN Security
No, we walked.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It's like stopped. It's like one of those science fiction movies where everything stops and people run on the top of cars.
We avoid the East Side.
Oh. Well, it
haven't
was
had our
over on
shot.
the west side yesterday.
It's spilling over.
It's spilling over. But my brother-in-law, or my blood brother, Bill Clinton. Sorry, I do have a brother named Bill, which is nice, and I have a sister named Monica. How perfect. I think he did a great job. I really think he explained things in a way. You know, he just put on the Bubba, the Elvis, and explained it. I'm still angry at him for all the money we've spent to get rid of DOMA and Don't Ask, Don't Tell, but. Go ahead. But he explained it well, I thought.
I thought Joe Biden did a great job.
I thought he did a great job. I thought Duval Patrick
fantastic.
rocked the house.
Really
whatever
strong.
Jennifer Granholm was on, we should have some before the show.
Well, I wish she'd use that on her TV show. I don't see it there.
Or when she was governor. That would have been nice.
That would have been nice, too.
Yeah.
So is there any humor in Obama this time, or are we just leaving him alone?
No. There's lots of humor in Obama, but when at the end of the day, I have to say that I want it very clear who they're supposed to vote for. We can make fun all we want, but hey, get registered now and
get your photo ID.
Get your 3 forms of photo ID, the long form birth certificate, and blood and stool samples in some states, which I think is weird.
And a few relatives coming with you.
You can't be too careful when it comes to preserving democracy.
Oh.
But lesbians are not sitting on the sidelines this time. We now have LPAC.
Yes.
What does that stand for?
LPAC.com.
It's the Lesbian Political Action
Committee.
Group.
I thought we didn't like political action
well,
committees.
I hate all the money in politics. There's no doubt about it. And although...
I'll put it on.
Thank you. But I think given that's the situation, you can't give it up. You've got to get in there and fight with them. And LPAC was launched in July of this year. And my dear partner, Urvashi Vad, it was her, I could show you the paper that she started writing it out, and she talked about it and talked with people for a year, and it's launched, and it is, it's, when you think of like a PAC, you think of big money, but we really want to make a lesbian network where women can, give $25, give $50, give, $50,000. We don't care.
And the purpose of it is?
The purpose of it is, I love Andy because he brings me back. Do you know what I mean? But the purpose of it is to do candidates who help candidates or issues that are feminist, that are pro-women's rights, unapologetic right to an abortion, that are, that are also interested in economic and racial justice, and so they've pooled the money, and with great sort of strategic advice from some, you know, political people who really know. They have their list of people who they're giving money to. For this year, they're giving money to Tammy Baldwin, who's
Tammy.
an out lesbian running
Doing
in
better these
Wisconsin.
days.
Yeah,
About 9
Hopeful.
points up in the polls.
total
all of a sudden.
17-point swing though,
Yeah.
from down to
Well, they
it's-
found out that he spent his time as a lobbyist while he was, you know, in private
Well,
life.
she's been hammering that. That's been her approach, is to hammer Tommy Thompson as a lobbyist for big
And she's terrific.
corporations.
She's
She wants to
absolutely
bring back
terrific.
Glass-Steagall. No
Yes,
one else talks about
I
it.
know. I'm a big fan of that. Bill Clinton.
Another one,
Glass-Steagall.
yes.
Okay. Another one is Elizabeth Warren
Yes.
in Massachusetts. The governor of Sundham, you know, governor.
Oh, whoa.
You know, that's why you people have these high-paying jobs in New Hampshire, who would then be head of the Democratic Governors Association.
Yes.
And they're backing 4 women Supreme Court justices in Michigan because since Granholm's gone and they've got that crazy governor there's no veto power to any kind of crazy stuff coming from the legislature.
And the
So-
American Family Association is very strong in Michigan,
Yeah.
and they're always having a lot of battles
Yeah.
there. It's surprisingly conservative
Yeah.
territory.
So that, and then one more thing, an early warning system, an early notification of family when somebody is going to have an abortion in Florida. That's a thing, and they're fighting that
Fighting it.
initiative. Yep.
Yeah, LPAC, teamlpac.com is the website.
And we're
for
going
here.
through the election, but then beyond. It's just we're
Good.
in a building process.
And one of the prominent people involved is Laura Ricketts, who's the co-owner of the Chicago Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
More about baseball later.
From me?
No.
Okay, good.
But let's get to the AARP with you, because you were there appearing on a panel.
I appeared on a panel in New Orleans, on a panel sponsored by AARP with somebody from SAGE, Seniors. It used to be Seniors Active in a Gay Environment, but it's
Senior Action.
Senior
and now
Action.
It's Services and Advocacy for Gay and Lesbian Elders. Is that it?
Yes.
like that. Yeah.
Yes.
A great group.
SAGE.
SAGE, doing amazing national work.
Go
We're
to
all
SAGE.
counting on them.
Oh yeah, we
Go
are.
to sageusa.org and
Org.
you'll find them.
Another panelist is a wonderful woman, Natalie Chin from Lambda Legal Defense, and she, has spoke to the crowd about the latest, developments in all the changes really that the Obama administration has made for seniors.
Are all these people elderly like we are?
It's 30,000 at this convention. And I have to say, too, that the ratio of people of color there was staggeringly wonderful. And I said, if you can get LGBT people like this, like you've done this incredible work with people of color, then I'm all for it. I was there. Mr. Ryan was there. And they booed like crazy. I was so proud of them.
Well, how did they receive you in this panel?
It was lovely. It was a very informative panel, and then there was a reception after that was very well attended, and I entertained there, and they laughed. My high point was that I made the woman bartender howl. First of all, she went beet red. I don't know what I had said, and then I turned and she was like that, and then she just became my foil for the evening. But again, if you can make the band laugh, you're in good shape.
Now you go all over the country and you MC a lot of LGBT events for a lot of these big organizations. Do you have any insight about how this is all going and how you'd like to see the movement change and and when
And
we
the
can
changes you've seen over
and
the
when
last...
we can all retire?
Yeah.
We're almost there, Andrew.
Thank you.
I think, it's what I worry about is that we'll get federal marriage equality. I don't worry that we'll get it. It'll be wonderful. But, and then that everybody will just kind of back off and lose interest.
I think it's a marker.
Yeah.
And I think it's a stepping stone. And I think once we get it, that legitimize, just as Obama's coming out for it, legitimized the issue for people who were sort of, I don't know, and gave them permission to be for it. I think the more it gets legalized, the more it gives permission for everything.
I'm with Kate. No, I think that because we have the opportunity to do all these other things now, like the homeless kids that everybody says they care about and really don't, and don't do anything for, you know, a little but not much, and they're still there. So, you know, I think we've ignored those issues. I mean, not that we haven't all worked on them, but I don't see the movement. Those people with all the money, once they can get married and pass their fortunes on, I don't think they're going to care.
Yeah, I worry about that. But
I hope I'm wrong.
I was absolutely gobsmacked, and you don't hear that much on Gay USA, do you? Gobsmacked?
We say it
You
once
say
in a
it
while.
whenever-
Britishisms.
Please
you know.
don't say plethora. I hate that word. I heard
Don't even know what
somebody
it means.
say,
Yes, I do.
I had a plethora of beer. I was like, no, that's not right.
Well, that's
No.
out of context.
Yeah. But I thought that Hillary Clinton's speech at The Hague this year, in terms of international leadership that said human rights are gay rights and gay rights are
Yes.
human rights, I just
Stunning.
thought that was absolutely
Yeah.
stunning.
Yeah.
Then in the afternoon, she went and pissed off Vladimir Putin. That's a busy day. That's a busy day for our
Just
gal.
like Pussy Riot
I
did.
know. Yes, isn't that exciting?
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, you know, do you see changes? You've had an extended career. We'll leave it at that. But are audiences different? Are issues different? Or is your reception different? Is what you observe different?
Well, I think I observe more a growing, and it's fine, a growing number of lifestyle gay people. You know, it's like about cruises, it's about, you know, being out, or I don't know if you're all together on a boat, if that's out, but, you know, I think there's a kind of a growing, and it's fine. I'm not saying everybody has to get busy and be an activist, but I think I mean, we, at our own peril, we sort of say, no, that's done, we're good, we're going, you know, on a vacation.
Well, I think those of us and everyone else who has done the work over the years did it so people could live their lives out and comfortably and apolitically. And,
That's right.
you know, we can't resent them for it. But there's still a lot of work to do that we'd like them to be involved in, but this is what we wanted.
One would hope that it would make them want to get a heightened sense of justice and injustice and want to be involved with all the other injustices in the world.
95% of the world is not involved in doing anything political. They don't
I
even know the term of the presidency.
But I do have to say, at the one of the most exciting conferences, I think, is the Creating Change Conference, the National Gay and Lesbian Task Force. It's the 25th year of it. This year it's going to be in Atlanta. And last year I was there, it was like 3,000 crazy activists.
That's a lot of people.
And half of them were under 30.
No, that's great.
And they were just, they're, you know, multi-platform. I was talking to this one kid and I said, now, is this the first time you've been at this conference? And he gave me one of those, oh, granny looks, you know, like, but it's just wonderful. And I love them for their sense of entitlement. It's just like, learn from this.
And please take it over, because we do want to retire. All right, well,
No, I don't. I don't know.
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
thinking, I want the Betty White career. I want to,
I was so sorry the Democrats didn't have her at the convention
I
after the
know.
Clint Eastwood thing.
I know,
People
talking
wanted them
to a toilet, and then, hey, he's
Maybe
full of
not.
crap, and then
Yeah.
that'd be fun.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Bob Smith.
Couldn't have been any more vulgar than Clint Eastwood.
Caroline's October 17th. KateClinton.com. That's where you can find out all about Kate and where to see her and what to do.
Thanks for being with us, Kate.
My pleasure.
KateClinton.com.
Back
Vote
in a
for
moment.
Obama. Right back with the news.
So, marriage was in the news in the presidential campaign again this week.
Oh, what? Mitt Romney on Univision?
Yes.
It wasn't anything particularly new. He got asked by the Univision reporters what he thought about the prospect of same-sex marriage and how he'd react if any of his children or grandchildren were gay and all that kind of stuff. First, he made a bad joke about, oh, my children are married, so I'd be surprised.
Right. Right. And then they did ask Ryan about it as well, and he upheld traditional marriage. But when they asked Ryan about Don't Ask, Don't Tell, he said, we're going to leave that alone.
Well, the real news, or interesting non-news, comes out of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court currently has on its docket of potential cases several cases asking to overturn Section 3 of the Defense of Marriage Act. The section has already been overturned in several federal appeals and district courts around the country, and all sides have asked the Supreme Court to take a look at this. And the Prop 8 marriage case from California is also a potential Supreme Court case, although separate issues and a separate event. The court had its first opportunity to consider whether to take these cases this week.
And they didn't.
They have made no announcement. So we don't know whether they're going to take them or not. Our prediction is that they will not take the Prop 8 case, although it's possible. Here's what I think could happen. The 4 conservatives could decide that to take the Prop 8 case, not because they think they're going to succeed in getting 5 votes to overturn it, but because it's a way to delay marriage longer in California. If they reject the case now, marriage becomes legal in California for same-sex couples within a few days. If they take the case, it will take another 6, 8, however many months. They could gain a justice in that time.
That's not very nice.
Well, this is just my cynical scenario for what they could do with the Prop 8 case. But if everyone's playing by the rules, they should reject the Prop 8 case because there's no issue outside of California. Now, the DOMA cases are different.
Right, and one of them is the Edie Windsor case, which, even though it could go to the Supreme Court, is also going to be heard in the district court at the appellate level.
Well, our side had asked to bypass that level and have the Supreme Court take it, but since they didn't take it this week, the arguments supposedly or presumably would go on this week. You're going to see this after the scheduled arguments, which we expect to attend, so we'll tell you about that next week.
Right.
Now, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg was giving a talk to an audience at the University of Colorado and was asked about these cases, and she said, without getting into the details of it,
I think it's most likely that we will have that issue before the court toward the end of the current term.
The Defense of Marriage Act she was talking about.
Yes.
So it looks like the chances are they will take the DOMA cases, and we're optimistic about that.
And by the way, the court also has before it the Robert Pinter case. We've had him on this show. He was falsely arrested for prostitution, a total false arrest in New York, and a whole put-up job by the city of New York, which wants to close porn places and things like that. And they are arguing against this idea of arguable probable cause, you know. And so if he wins, it would be a great precedent for a lot of people in this country, not just false prostitution arrests.
There's also a case from Arizona about benefits for same-sex partners who are state employees, and we'll see whether the Supreme Court takes that case. Also, there's speculation about the timing of their announcement on these cases. Some people think they're going to wait until after the November election to tell us whether or not they're taking these cases because it's such a highly charged political issue. I don't know. I don't know if I even care if they wait that long. Do you?
It depends on whether you need to get married, I guess.
Well, whatever. Meanwhile, at the state level, we have these 4 races going on in Maryland, Minnesota, Washington, and Maine.
These are state referenda on same-sex marriage in one form or another.
Yes, and the news here is, and you can look at those individual states for the latest ad campaigns and the back and forth on those. Freedom to Marry, the national lobbying group, activist group, created and headed by Evan Wolfson, had announced some months ago that they were going to stay out of Maryland because they didn't think there was enough of a ground game established to support the push for marriage. But now they've changed their minds.
Well, except for the fact that they're not joining the effort. They are setting up their own PAC to raise their own money and do it their way. It's very confusing.
I thought they were joining the coalition, no?
Well, they certainly work with the other groups, but they have registered their own pack on this issue.
Okay.
So, which is like, why not just support what HRC is doing, whatever. Everybody is being very guarded in their comments, but it doesn't seem to be like everybody is happy about the way it's being handled.
Well, it is nonetheless a change on their part to decide to get into the fight, which they were staying out of. So that's a good sign.
And a group of prominent African-American clergy are urging the people to support the state's same-sex marriage law in Maryland.
And another group is arguing the other way.
Yes, but the polling is starting to move in the African-American community towards support for this. In Maryland, in survey in July, found 44% of African-American Marylanders support question 6, which is what they'll be voting on, compared to 45% that oppose it. Back in May, it was 55% who did.
Opposed it.
Yeah.
Okay. In related news, Senator Susan Collins, Republican of Maine, is the first Republican senator to co-sponsor the Uniting American Families Act, which is the proposed law that would allow same-sex couples who are binational to be allowed to have legal status for the non-U.S. partner. 27 senators have now signed on to that bill, and a lot of corporations are lobbying in favor of it because they have a lot of international employees, and this is a real issue for major corporations.
I do have a correction on Maryland. I apologize. Back in May, 55% supported same-sex marriage rights. So I think that was
in the African American community.
Yes, I think that was on the heels of the Obama stuff, and now it's gone back a little bit. But that's why I think the black clergy are uniting, some of them, and coming out and saying, this is our cause.
It's quite a split.
Yeah.
In Alaska, an interesting case, a lesbian couple together 10 years, each had children from previous relationships who they were raising together. They lived together. They were financially interdependent. One of them worked for the Millennium Hotel in Anchorage and went to work one day and was shot dead by a former employee who she had fired. This was a year ago.
Her name was Fadley, and her partner, Deborah Harris, was told that she doesn't qualify as a widow and is not entitled to death benefits. So she's suing about this. And what they want is they want all the decisions to be made, because yes, under the law, she doesn't qualify as a widow, but they want to challenge the constitutionality of that law.
Exactly, because the Alaska Workers' Compensation Act would otherwise grant benefits to a heterosexual couple. And it's a horrible story. Deborah was shunned by Carrie's family and not recognized at the funeral. And Carrie, who was the murdered partner, had a son who got benefits under these laws, and he is arguing for his other mother to get the benefits she deserves too.
And all the more reason why we do need legalized same-sex marriage. In New York, we told you that in some of the primaries, there was a big, some of the Republicans who had voted for same-sex marriage were in danger of losing their seats, and one of them did lose his primary, a guy named McDonald. He may run as an independent in the race. That's not been decided yet. Another guy in another district, Salland, narrowly defeated his opponent. The woman who defeated McDonald said, well, he lied about it. He said he was going to vote against this. It's not like I want to, I'm not going to try to overturn same-sex marriage or anything, but he's a liar.
Well, the real issue is there were these 4 Republicans in the state Senate who voted for same-sex marriage. The National Organization for Marriage said it was going to, devote all its resources to getting rid of these guys.
In 2 years. Oh, they were going to overturn it in New York. 2 sessions or something.
Well, one of the senators didn't run for re-election.
He had other problems. 2
have now won their primaries, one quite narrowly, Salland, and one was defeated.
Yeah,
so.
And the one who won in Buffalo, the Buffalo area, a guy named Grisanti, faces a much more pro-gay and liberal Democratic opponent.
Yeah.
Because, anyway, we're sad to announce that Jesus Christ was married to a woman. Not maybe the thing with John wasn't working out. I don't know, but Actually, the evidence is, forget this thing that happened this week, which everybody was talking about. The evidence is that Jesus probably was married to a woman, because if he wasn't, it would have been very strange back then for anybody over the age of 26 not to be married.
I don't follow these things.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think it's significant because everybody's in such an uproar of this. They don't want to deal with his sexuality, basically, and it's a very anti-sex religion.
So that's why he's been neutered all these years.
Exactly.
I got it. Okay. All right. Let's do Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A, there's been this question this week because the alderman in Chicago who said he was going to try to keep Chick-fil-A from opening a new restaurant in Chicago because they were donating their profits to anti-gay causes.
Like the National Organization for Marriage.
He claimed he had reached some agreement with them and they were going to stop doing that, and therefore he was going to support their opening a restaurant. And now they've been putting out statements that say, oh, no, we haven't changed anything, and, you know, we've always treated all our clients fairly and our employees, but we're not going to stop supporting opposite-sex marriage. And
that seemed to be coming out from the PR side of the executives. And then Dan Cathy, who runs the company, was on Huckabee's show. Oh, no.
I haven't changed.
We're changed.
But there's one interesting footnote to this. There's a small college in Georgia, Berry College, where Cathy is on the board. And for years, they have resisted any acknowledgement of LGBT students. And that college, a Christian college in the mountains of Georgia, has now approved an LGBT student group.
Oh, I thought you were going to say they approved a Chick-fil-A on campus.
No. No, better. They have approved an LGBT student group.
Did Dan Cathy have anything to do with that? Because if he did, a lot of our right-wing viewers are not going to be eating Chick-fil-A anymore.
Well, you'd have to ask him about it. In other college news, of course, we haven't mentioned, but should, Jamie Kuntz, the football player at North Dakota State College of Science, he's now withdrawn from North Dakota State College of Science. He's the freshman football player who wasn't playing because he'd had a concussion, and he was taping a game from the press box or something, and he had a date with his boyfriend up there.
He was making out with his boyfriend, and
because
apparently
they never get to see each
apparently
other.
observed from the field somehow. And you know, so they're saying, well, we didn't cut him from the team because of kissing the guy. It's because he lied about it.
Yeah.
And,
well,
you know,
we asked him about it. He said it was his.
I went to the University.
Cousin
I went to the
something.
University of Virginia. We had an honor code, and if you lied, stole, or cheated, you had to leave the university within 24 hours. Except you could lie to get sex. That was one of the exceptions to the.
Was that written?
Well, it was part of the oral tradition, so to speak. But I mean, it was like, you know, I really love you or something, or I want to marry you. I don't know, whatever it is you had to do to get sex. That was okay. Men. No, it was a men's school for the longest time. But women are in the majority now there, I think, like everywhere else.
Well, Jamie.
And you have won. You have won, and you deserve it because you're all, we had a good run, we men.
No, I don't know how good it was.
No,
anyway.
I mean a long run.
I understand.
That's what I mean.
Jamie Kuntz has withdrawn from North Dakota State.
Yeah.
All right. But in other sports news, Kevin McClatchy, the former owner of the Pittsburgh Pirates, has finally come out.
He said, I was turning 50, I had a birthday coming up, and I've spent 30 years or whatever it is not talking about my personal life, lying about it. And he talks about how anti-gay the sports environment was and how much he stood by when he heard anti-gay stuff all the time. But he says, you're not going to solve any problem until you start a dialogue, and there hasn't been a dialogue, so he's starting it now. That he's out. Well, of course, and they make the point. There is no American major league player in any in hockey,
any major sport,
right, who has come out while they're an active player.
But more and more, there is support in the major leagues in various sports, whether it's the recent football players for the Ravens and the Vikings, or the support in hockey or whatever. So I think the atmosphere is changing, and it'll happen.
In Britain they've got a campaign in in their football soccer thing, you know, to get the fans to be better about it and everybody to be better about it.
Okay.
It's even working out in the military. Big story about the fact that the gay policy is working. That's the new study.
Yeah. Senator Michael Bennet, Democrat of Colorado, has introduced a bill specifying older LGBT people as a group that has great social need and added us as an amendment to the Older Americans Act for special services and consideration.
And I asked SAGE, which is very involved with getting this in, and they're very happy about it. You know, is this all going to go all the way through? Well, it depends upon how strongly the senators are going to hold on to their side of the position once they get it through.
And in Philadelphia, they are breaking ground for an LGBT senior housing building. Construction starts in October. It'll be for people 62 and over. There will be 56 one-bedroom apartments, some of which will be for low-income people.
In Catholic news, or more Catholic news, the Archbishop of Newark, now they're all right-wing nuts and they're all anti-gay, but this guy has really gone out on a limb and sent a letter around in advance of the election to say, if you are a Catholic who supports same-sex marriage, you should not go to communion. I mean...
You've always supported that kind of attitude.
Huh? Well, I mean, well, no, what do you mean? I mean, I'm the only one who went to communion at my father's funeral. You know, I was always taught when you're invited, I'm an atheist, but when you're invited to the table, you should eat. That's my attitude. But it may offend somebody, I don't care. But anyway, this guy is being extremely political and, you know, really wants to let people know.
Well, he said some horrible things about us.
Yeah, I mean, the statement appeared to compare gay marriage to incest, basically. He's an awful guy. He always has been. But that's how you get ahead in the Catholic hierarchy these days. And then they're going to install the new Archbishop of San Francisco, Cordileone, and there's plans for a demonstration and a disruption on Thursday, October 4th, 1:30 to 6:30 p.m. They're going to be in front of St. Mary's Cathedral there on Gough Street. Is that how you say it? G-O-U-G-H Street? I've been there. And there may be something inside as well.
They're still mad at him for supporting Prop 8.
Well, the Prop 8 people say his coming out on this and leveraging a donor turned the tide against Prop 8. So
for Prop 8.
For Prop 8, which we're trying to get rid of now in the courts.
Yeah. And nearby in Berkeley, this week they celebrated Bisexual Pride and Bi Visibility Day.
And it was good to see that the Intel Corporation is going to stop funding the Boy Scouts. They were the largest corporate donor of the Boy Scouts, had given about $700,000 in 2010. Yeah.
All right, a terrible story in Greenwich Village here. We should alert you to problems at the McDonald's on West 3rd Street at 6th Avenue. It's a
magnet for trouble.
Of all sorts, but most recently there was a confrontation where a transgender woman was going to use the women's bathroom, and a patron got offended, and a fight ensued.
Slashed the transgender patron. The guy was arrested. His name is Keith Petrone. We had a picture of him up. Did we have him up? There he is.
Yeah.
I had a picture of him, 44. You know, it always seems to come down to bathrooms, and I really wish that, and I went to a restaurant the other day, every single bathroom was man, woman, you know, single occupancy.
Yes.
Just do it that way and we don't get into any of these fights.
Yes, exactly. And thank you to Wanda Sykes, who gave $15,000 to the Ruth Ellis Center in Detroit. She attended an event there. She was very impressed by the work they were doing for LGBT youth in particular, and spontaneously handed over $15,000.
And Ruth Ellis was a famous African-American older lesbian.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Another famous older lesbian, although not very public about it, was Betty Lane, who was a very, very well-known photographer. And
we have a picture of Betty. That's Betty there in Washington Square. She used to live in West Bath. She was at every demonstration in New York from 1955 to 1995, basically. She was just out there, and that's a picture of the Stonewall that she took. almost...
She was the only one who documented the Stonewall riot, wasn't she?
Yeah, it's almost all images you have of that stuff in those days. The most prominent images you will recognize are from Betty Lane.
But she was not happy about being out.
She was out, obviously, to her circle of friends, but you know, she came from an old line Italian-American family, she said, and she wasn't comfortable about identifying publicly, which was always very strange to me. But, you know, because especially since she was like at all these demonstrations, listening to all these speeches and seeing all this action,
but it's
getting inspired.
It's always an individual, personal decision, and it remains a fearful decision for individuals. And I think you underestimate how scared people are.
I know that people, obviously,
to this day,
obviously, yeah. But of course, I know a lot of older people who are really out and activists. I'm talking about in their 80s and into their 90s even.
Sure.
So, you know, it all can be done. And, you know, this is someone who lives in Westbeth and Greenwich Village.
I don't think that proximity equals courage.
Well, okay. And then there was we're noting the passing of someone, again, I didn't know, Teresca Torres, 92. Not a lesbian that we know of, married to men over the course of her life, but she wrote this very, very famous novel, Women's Barracks, a lesbian pulp fiction novel, which was condemned in 1952 by the House Select Committee on Current Pornographic Materials. That's the name of the committee. And she was shocked by the reaction to this because she said, this is what happened in the women's barracks in London during the war. Yeah. I just was describing what was going on. Mm-hmm. And she led a fascinating life and dead at 92.
Yeah. And also dead this week, Keith Griffith, who started the cruisingforsex.com website, which was maybe the earliest online vehicle for men to find each other in public spaces. Now, it turned out it also became a vehicle for the cops to find the men who were cruising for sex.
We all knew places in our towns and localities we could go to. People started putting this stuff online, and it was like, God, you know, that's when the cops really said, oh, let's go there. You know.
But he was a great activist, and he was a really sweet guy, and he got very involved in helping his headquarters was in New Orleans, and when Katrina hit, he did a just fabulous job of really helping out and helping his staff and everything. And he was on this show once. He was a real sweetheart, and he died at 53 of cancer and complications from AIDS. So I think it's really sad to lose him.
Not a person.
He was sex positive, and how much of that do you see anymore?
Well, you're certainly not seeing it at the Stonewall National Museum in Miami.
Maybe Fort Lauderdale. Stonewall Library and Archives.
Okay, apologize about that. But look, they have this museum, and they were going to have an exhibit of, it's called Men in Their, what is it called? Men in
Living Rooms is a series of photographs by Jeff Larson. And they're quite striking, and they are a little provocative. They're guys alone in their personal living rooms.
Generally covering their genitals.
Yes, there is not full frontal nudity, but they are, you know, some are dressed in their underwear, some are dressed in leather gear, they're in various poses, but it's a real meditation on them as human beings, and they're some about isolation, some about whatever.
So why aren't we showing them the pictures? But anyway, the point is they scheduled this exhibit, and then they got nervous that, oh, we're getting all these school groups to come in. So to sort of kill the whole sexuality element, and again, it's not that sexy or anything, it's just a picture of these men in their rooms, was just very, very, very discouraging. Are we just not about sex at all anymore? I mean, as people have pointed out, you go to most museums, there are a lot of naked pictures on the wall.
Exactly.
Every single museum in the world.
Well,
but these are dirty.
I would suggest that these were so personal, and so there's such a reality to these pictures, just of these human beings, that that made people nervous. You know, if you see David, it's not quite as real and immediate.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm speculating. The head of the museum said it was a bit too graphic for the kids.
Well, That's too bad.
Yeah.
Tell the kid, then put up a sign and say, if you're easily offended, don't come in.
So will the new rainbow crosswalks in West Hollywood survive, or will that be seen as too provocative? I think it's a great idea.
Yeah,
I hope we have them in Chelsea soon.
That's what they're planning.
A couple of other notes. Next Wednesday, October 3rd, 6:30 p.m. at the LGBT Community Center here on West 13th Street, there's going to be a big forum and informational event about the Spectra pipeline that they are bringing into Greenwich Village and the gay community with all this radon and fracking.
Are they trying to kill us?
Yes, and particularly people who are HIV positive.
What can we do to stop it?
Well, you can go to this event on October 3rd at the Community Center, or you can look at saneenergyproject.org to get more information about this. This is, man, I'm worried about Manhattan getting flooded as the water levels rise, and now I'm worried about all this fracking and radon coming right into our neighborhoods.
It's good to hear our community center taking on a controversial issue.
That was a dig. Thank you, President Obama, for nominating openly gay Judge Michael McShane to the Federal District Court in Oregon. And I'm not sure that we're, the Victory Fund is debating whether to endorse Carl DeMaio for the Republican out-gay candidate for mayor in San Diego. He's anti-labor. He says he doesn't want to deal with gay issues. He took money from the Prop 8 backers.
We are reaching that time where people like that who have terrible politics are willing to be out.
And I should revise that. He has supported gay stuff in the city council, I think, there in San Diego.
But if we want to build coalitions, we can't just be for ourselves.
Okay. This from someone who regularly dumps on the Go Proud and...
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
No, I'm not saying we should support him. This guy's not supporting other causes.
Right. Oh, you're saying we should not support him because he doesn't support other...
Correct.
I got it. Okay.
Correct.
Never mind.
All right.
International news?
Yeah.
Australia, the House of Representatives there rejected same-sex marriage by a vote of 98 to 42. There will be more attempts to pass it, but there are going to be more losses.
And some of the states there, like Tasmania, are moving towards same-sex marriage.
Yeah.
A study out of Britain that says among gay people, drug use is 7 times higher. And it's not just because, we had a rough childhood. It's because of the culture of socializing that encourages drug use. And so it's a big problem.
Not in my house. September 23rd, there were LGBT flash mobs in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City.
Turn out the lights. Eagle Herc, the International Gay and Lesbian Human Rights Commission, has a new director, and that's Jessica Stern, who was the one who got them into the UN as an organization.
In St. Petersburg, Russia, the 4th annual Queer Fest opened with local government support. Unbelievable. It's basically an arts festival.
Mahmoud Ahmadinejad has a new line about why he doesn't support gays because, it's not just because we don't procreate, because we're ugly. What we do is ugly.
He's
not very nice.
Talking to Piers Morgan to say all that. In Serbia, the leaders want to cancel Belgrade Pride scheduled
for security
for
reasons.
October 6th.
For security,
I think they got it canceled last year, didn't they?
Whenever they can't, I think so. Whenever they can't handle the crowd, was that the first year that they did it?
Look, in New York City, they claimed the police could not handle the crowd for a protest of the St. Patrick's Day parade. That was always their excuse.
Not only did they close the Pink Paper, which is the newspaper of the United Kingdom, gay paper over there, they're now not going to even update the website anymore. They're just basically closing up shop.
And yet here we sit.
Here we sit here.
In Uganda...
David Cecil, who was he's the guy, he's a British guy who produced the first play on a gay theme over there, and they put him in jail. They locked him up. He's charged with disobeying lawful orders. So he's going to fight it, is being charged with promoting homosexuality. This is how they're using that new law that they want to do. They're not going to give you the death penalty, but they're really going to go after people like this, and I hope he succeeds and wins.
AIDS news. First, a correction. we told you that United in Anger, one of the two major AIDS ACT UP documentaries out now, was going to be available on Netflix. I did an event with the director, and I said, oh, we told everyone it's available on Netflix. He said, it is? It isn't, but I hope it will be. But if you want to learn more about United in Anger, go to actuporalhistory.org, where you can find out about that film. But the other film, How to Survive a Plague, is continuing to play in New York at the IFC Theater. It's opening in Boston and Atlanta with talkbacks after screenings, and you can find all about where it's playing around the country at surviveaplague.com.
Take a look at the latest slide from San Francisco. The infections with HIV are now on a steady decline over there.
That's that top line.
People are living longer. There was a little uptick in 2007, but it's down, and people, of course, are continuing to lead longer lives. All very encouraging news. That doesn't mean you should stop using condoms.
Not at all. An annoying story from Dearborn, Michigan, where a cop stopped a straight couple in a traffic stop, and for some reason they got out of the car, and the cop found medications that the wife had, or the woman, and said, what are these? And she said, I'm HIV positive. And he said, well, I'm really aggravated that you didn't tell me that up front, and I'm pissed off.
The cop?
The cop.
At a stop?
And I'm giving you traffic tickets that I wouldn't otherwise have given you because you didn't tell me you're HIV positive.
Is all this on tape, I hope?
Yes, there's a tape. There's a half-hour tape of this confrontation.
My God.
Yeah.
And Jerome Horowitz, who's the creator of AZT, has died at 93. Of course, when he created it in 1964.
It was for cancer.
For cancer, and it wasn't working out, but it did become the first drug that they treated people with AIDS with, unsuccessfully, but then it helped when it was in combination with other things.
Okay.
And in Minnesota, they overturned the conviction of someone tried under one of those criminalization laws. A lot of details on it, but, you know, okay.
Entertainment news. Days of Our Lives, for those still watching soap operas, evidently these characters, Will and Sonny, had a sort of phony kiss before, but now they're going to kiss for real.
I don't know that the Emmy Awards were that gay, but Modern Family and Romney's favorite show won for Best Comedy, and Eric Stone Street, who was not gay, continues to win for that.
For playing gay.
I saw the play Red Dog Howls. This is the one about the Armenian genocide. And you remember Kathleen Chalfant, who was in Angels in America.
Yes.
She is absolutely wonderful, playing a 91-year-old grandmother who survived the genocide. But her performance is wonderful, but the play is predictable.
Too bad.
Unfortunately, at the New York Theater Workshop.
And I went to a screening of an old Italian movie, Investigation of a Citizen Above Suspicion, from 1970, that's going to be playing at the Film Forum. It is terrific. It's this chief of police who kills his girlfriend, and then the whole movie is about how he sort of leaves clues and covers up clues and gets crazier and crazier, and it sort of starts comic and gets darker.
When's it from?
1970.
Oh, boy.
Sort of the same era as Divorce Italian style and Marriage Italian style. They're really good.
And I saw The Master, which I think should be called The Masturbator, with this new film about sort of cult Scientology kind of a thing with Philip Seymour Hoffman. Joaquin Phoenix is terrific in it as a sociopath. It's visually arresting, but troubling. And of course, I will see you all at the London Terrace Street Fair this weekend on West 24th Street. Between 9th and 10th Avenues.
And thank you to our guest, Kate Clinton, again. And to find out more about her and where she's appearing and all her stuff, go to kateclinton.com. And we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.